Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NextDev FM. My name is Ryan. I'm joined by my lovely co-host here.
Dan Goosewin.
And today we are joined by Will King. Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Goose? Ryan?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. So we do this thing at the beginning of stream where we ask for like a 2-minute snapshot. So where'd your journey with tech and design sort of begin? And give us like the elevator pitch of your entire thing, and then we'll jump into the parts of it.
Whew, elevator pitch of an entire career.
Right?
All right, we'll try. So I went to school for industrial design, which for those who don't know, industrial design is like actual physical products. And then my senior year of college, I fell in love with my now wife and mother of our 3 kids, and realized that the best industrial design jobs would not work with living in Alabama. So I got into like web and digital design. And from there, being a like designer, I was upset at developers who had no idea how to implement said designs the way that I wanted them to. So then I got into development at that point. And then basically my entire career has been working for startups, wearing whatever hat is required, usually around the design, engineering, and product areas. And I get that's like where I'm at now. I just love building digital products and building dope things with dope people.
I can get behind that.
Oh yeah,
that makes sense. That was pretty impressive. Normally, people sometimes take
lots of details.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll go ahead and cover those. But yeah, that works.
Yeah, that looks great. I am in particular impressed that you ended up in software, starting out from industrial design. I would love to hear everything about it. Like, how did you get from there to here? What was the process?
Okay, well, let me tell you. There is, honestly, I think all designers who want to design software products should actually start in industrial design, or at least take some of the courses from industrial design. Because I think a lot of people who end up doing like design, like product design, usually they either start in some random career like we all do and end up in tech in some form or another, or they start from like art school. And art school is like really fantastic for creating people who are like incredible at visuals. But having a background in industrial design like teaches you how to actually build products people want to use, which is like, I think, a very hard thing to learn. And so like with industrial design, you're not just designing, like you're not just drawing a sketch of some product and being like, here it is, this is the product. It's like, no, you've got to like iterate on it. You've got to make like physical models. Like you are the one who makes the models and tests them out. And I see a bunch of 3D printers behind you. So it's like,
did it give it away too much?
Yeah. Like you're in the material, like in the medium that you're designing for, and you have to like feel how it works, understand how it works as part of like the whole process. And I think that like that process is like missed for like a lot of like design paths these days, and like engineering paths too. Like a lot of it's like theoretical. You're not like actually in the material, in the medium, like shipping stuff.
What if we thought about designing this? What if we didn't design it? Don't get ahead of yourself. What if we thought really, really, really hard about designing it? It's like a LaCroix, but for
what
design.
If this just looked super cool? Well, yeah, that may look super cool, but do people actually know how to use it? Like, does it actually solve the problem that you're like designing it for?
Yeah, literally.
So
yeah, no.
Honestly, I think like industrial design is like what made my career what it was. Because like as part of it, like, you also do like user research. Like you've got to do interviews, you've got to talk to the people. Like it really, like everything that has to do with like building software products, you learn in the process of like industrial design education.
Right.
That is super interesting, and I definitely did not expect a recommendation to start in industrial design. Like,
yeah, man, let me tell you, I've got like a Pinterest board with like over 2,000 pins of like all my industrial design. Like, I love product design. I still love it. It's just like I would have had to move to San Francisco or something crazy, and my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and she was like, man, I really want to teach at the school that I graduated from and be close to my family. And I was like, well, I love you way more than product design, so like let's do that instead. And
Right.
it's worked out pretty great, I'd say.
That's great
Do you
to
think
hear.
also that with that be getting an industrial design, because often with like startup land, it's everything's a little bit more fluid and you don't
Mhm.
really have to adhere to these design guidelines as much. You can kind of push the rules a little bit. But would you say that just like other than the process, but like the core principles of design kind of got cemented in you with that industrial design? It's kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
in like IT where it's like you go work at like a big MSP
Mhm.
and figure out how to do everything and figure out what the right way to do stuff is, and then you can come back to like a startup or like a small business and apply
Right.
it there. Would you say it was kind of like that type of application for when you were doing that stuff?
I would say like yes, in a way. I think a lot of like design education is less about like becoming good at something, like becoming good at the output, and it's a lot
Right.
more about being good at like critical thinking, like how to think through a problem and how to like iterate your way to something that solves the problem. And like yes, you're probably not going to nail it the first. I think that's like honestly more important than like knowing exactly what to do with every situation. Like that comes just by the nature of like being in an industry long enough. Like you were talking about, like you go work for some big IT company, like you're gonna learn a lot of things that like are best practices, like things that people are doing, and you get a lot of experience doing that. But
Right.
like the most valuable lesson to me is just like iterating, and like you ship, you get feedback, and you learn about the things you're creating from the people who try to use it. And like that feedback and internalizing that feedback is like actually what helps you become good at product and good at like decision making with like products and design. And also engineering, like engineering is the
Yeah.
same way. Like engineering is what makes the design work. So it's like them in tandem. Like shipping something to someone requires like both of those pieces of the equation. And it's
I
not
think
until
it's
like
really
you
important.
put it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
somebody's hands that you learn.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the engineering and the design to work deeply together, because if you have something that looks really really nice but it doesn't work from a UX experience, right, and it only works from like a it only works from like a user interface experience but not a user experience type way,
Mhm.
then that's when it's like you see like a really nice app and you're like, oh, this looks so sexy, and then you look at it and you actually try to use it and you're like, this is horrible.
Right.
Why are we
Like
like
nothing makes
clicking?
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So no,
It
yeah,
looks
I
good, but you
definitely.
don't know how to achieve anything with it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. So we're gonna jump back, or we're gonna jump over to some more, the more data stuff. So for
Mhm.
users and listeners that are unfamiliar with crunchy data, what is the
Hmm.
60-second pitch, and where do you fit in that team?
All right. So Crunchy Data is the best managed Postgres offering in the market,
We
bar
did not
none.
pay him to say this, and he
No,
did not pay us to say this.
bar
You're
none.
going to be hearing from our lawyers.
So the reason I say that is because the people who are building Crunchy Data's Postgres service are the people who are actually building Postgres. A huge percentage of the core contributors to Postgres itself work inside of our company. And the people who built one of the very first managed Postgres service, Heroku Postgres, are like the founding team at Crunchy Bridge. Like all of the the main product manager, my boss Craig Kirsten's, and all of like the engineers that build the platform, they all built Heroku Postgres, and then got poached into Crunchy Data and are building like
Right.
a better version of it from all the lessons that they learned having already built an entire managed Postgres service.
Yeah.
Once. And then put on top of that, we also have like, we don't just have like support. This is, to me, this is the key. We don't just have like support. We have support engineers. We have people who like know more about Postgres than like half the team, who are the support engineers. So like they don't even have to come to the engineers to ask, why is this broken or how is this broken? Like they tell us, like, hey, this is
Right.
broken. We know this is broken. And my place in that team is as a design engineer. For the longest time, I was the only designer, in the product. So like all of the design work, as well as like a lot of the front end engineering work for that, it was on my shoulders. But now there's a team of like 3 other engineers in the front end team, and then we've also recently hired a way better designer than I am. His name's Kyle. And like they are all just like, he's like way better than me, and I'm so excited to like, he's been working on the marketing side, so we'll bring him into the product side here soon to spice it up there as well. But yeah, that was like my role coming in, was to be like the design while also being able to like push product forward.
I think that's really important for a company where the support engineers, because everybody who's ever worked in IT gets into that classic scenario of where you're on the phone with like one of the support agents, and they're like, "Have you tried turning it on and off again?" You're like, "Yes, I know. I've literally done all the triage stuff. Here's the issue. Can you go on your dashboard and update the issue?" That happens all the time when I'm like dealing with like with my previous job, when I had to deal with like an ISP with like internet.
Mm-hmm.
I know how they work. I'm like, "Can you go to your dashboard? Can you update the BGP rule to do this, that, the other?" And they're like, "How about we restart the modem?" No, just let me do.
Skip
I know what. Yeah, I know. Like, I have done this so many times. Just let me. And I can't remember what company it was, but I worked with a support engineer in another instance a while ago, and I texted them what needed to be done. They confirmed it on their end and implemented the fix in like seconds. And I was like, "Holy cow, that was an amazing experience." Oh, it wasn't this one, but another good case of this is Mark from Theo's team with like T3 chat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When there's an issue with T3 chat, I'll text Mark and be like, "Hey, this is broken." He's like, "Yep, I confirmed that. All right, let's fix." And it's a fix pushed out instantly. So that's definitely a superpower for a company. I agree.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I'll like, the way I'll phrase it is that for a highly technical product, your customer support engineers are your developer relations. Like they are the front. Like they are the people who interact first and most often with your customers. They're the ones who, based on that experience, build trust or lose trust with your customers. So like it's critical.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I would love to dive deeper into the product design engineer. That is a very interesting title to me, and I'm still curious, like, what exactly is your contribution, what your day-to-day looks like? Maybe you can walk us through some recent problem you got to solve there, or a feature you got to design.
Sure. Yeah. Be happy to. I actually have a perfect example of this. So the design engineer is like, I'm actually giving a conference talk next Monday, and the way that I have phrased design engineer is just the latest. It's just like the latest iteration of a title for like somebody within a team who does like, wears whatever hats required to make like software ideas a reality. You know, like the people who are doing design and engineering were all like, without the title before, we're always the people who are like, I'm going to do whatever part of the job is required to like make this software happen. And like that's the way that I think about it. The people who like are more well-known design engineers are the people who like have really mastered the craft of like design and engineering in a combination. But like even the people who aren't notable, like there are always people in companies who like wear a bunch of hats and are able to like work cross-functionally, and like that is a superpower in and of itself. Even if you're not like the best at either one, the ability to understand both teams' perspectives is like a huge help for a team. So an example recently of like the type of work that I do, we just shipped, we have like our warehouse clusters, which is like, if you think of like ClickHouse or like Snowflake, like those type of like analytical databases, we just shipped like a product to where like you can take your normal clusters and sync the data from your normal database clusters to your warehouse clusters, so that like you can run all your analytical workloads and it's automatically getting fresh data from production. But when we shipped it, it was only available, like the way we ship stuff is like we build it into Postgres. So like when we shipped it as part of a plugin into the Postgres ecosystem. So like, yes, you could use our product and get it, but like you can also just use this yourself if you are technical enough for it. And then what my job is to like, I saw that, and for people to use this, the only way they could use this is if they know how to SSH into their production database and run like a number of commands. And like, there are DBAs who are very good at this, but there are also a ton of application developers who are building, like Next.js apps and Rails apps and, Laravel apps who like, they only know the ORM that they use and that's it. So like, how am I supposed to access this type of feature? And so the type of work that I did was like, I recognized that like, hey, like majority of our users aren't getting this value. Like this is an incredible product that we've shipped a feature, but there's no way for like our majority of our users to use it. So like I bring that feature into our dashboard. So like I wired up a whole new feature, which I didn't even ask. Like I just started working on it and had a prototype ready in like a day and a half and was just like, hey, like boss and team who do this, like I think this experience was missing from this. Like, what do y'all think? And they just are like, this is incredible. Let's ship. Like in 2.5 days, we have like a brand new feature shipped that now our entire, like with just a single form, everybody can set up data sync connections between their regular clusters in their account and their warehouse clusters. And like, I'm given the like agency to do that kind of stuff because I understand like the experience that is needed from a design side, but also like I can do all the engineering for it as well. So like things move quick when you can do.
Is that plugin you said? Because you said it's a plugin
yeah.
directly into Postgres, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that open source or is it?
Let me look. I think it's PG Iceberg, something like that. Let's see.
Because I wanted to while you're looking that up, I wanted to pivot and ask, because I feel like I read this somewhere, but a lot of that stuff is open source for the contributions.
Yep.
Have you always been involved in open source in that sort of way? Or
so I do not
know it's
any of it. Like this is like these people are writing like C, like these plugins are written in C directly into Postgres, and like
yikes.
Look, I'm a design engineer and I dabble with some backend. I like shipped my very first like Go code to our like API platform this week, but like that is the extent of like the depths that I'm like. You say Postgres and writing C in plugins and I'm like, I'm out. Sorry. Like you just tell me what tell me what the plugin does and I'll like make some magic in our dashboard. But like,
right.
I'm not touching that. Sorry, man.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
We've got like crazy teams who are like extremely talented. So like one of the plugins is called PG Parquet, like PG_Parquet. And that's what like creates this like iceberg style like database on top of Postgres. And then I don't know the name of the other plugin off the top of my head, but I can try and share that.
Awesome.
No, but that's cool.
Yeah, owning features from beginning to the end. It sounds like, as you said, high agency type of power to have, and
a lot of trust. You either earn the trust or you lose the trust. So like, thankfully for my career, it has been like a career full of like earning trust. And as my wife says, like I've got a whole lot of like, I think my nature just kind of lends itself to it because like the type of role needs somebody who has like confidence in making decisions, and also like finding teams who like it's okay if you fail. My boss is like really good. He's like, listen, like I will give anyone on the team a shot, and if you prove me right, then like let's ramp it up. I'll give you even more control the next time and keep proving me right. If you mess up, I'm not going to take all of that away because you messed up once. Like you got to find companies who like support that type of agency, but also like you've got to like build the confidence in yourself to like shoot your shot and not be like, I think a lot of people get scared of like, oh, well, if I mess up, I'll get fired. If I mess up, like, but like, nope. The only way you get better is by like tackling these like ambitious high agency like projects. And like, nobody's going to give those to you. Like they're not just going to fall in your lap. You've got to find them and take them for yourself if you want to like change the future into what you want it to be versus like the same path that
You
Yeah.
got to take hold. You can't just wait for it to fall into line.
no.
Yeah.
There's a saying that goes something like this. I might be butchering it. If you knew that you had 200 more failures to go in order to achieve greatness, like how fast would you want to fail? Right?
Yeah, oh, that's a great quote. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that, by the way. Thank you, Goose.
Of course, anytime. No, that sounds great. So you get to like design a feature from beginning to the end. You have to also understand the target audience, right? Like who's going to be
Oh, yeah.
consuming those features.
Yeah.
And do you get to contribute to like prioritization discussions with the product team?
So we don't. I am the product team.
Oh, okay.
So
Alright.
like
It
my
is
boss,
me.
yeah. So like I mentioned, like I've worked at startups where like there's generally not a like that is like where I thrive, where it is like me and a couple other people at the most, and there's not this like, oh, like check in with the PMs to make sure that like you can push things forward. Like nope, like specifically, I'll talk specifically to like Crunchy. Like my boss, Craig, he is a like PM most of his career now. You know, he's like a director now, but like his main role is like sales and product management for the like Crunchy product line. And so like
Right.
I'll like run ideas by him if I feel like a little unsure. Like he's been in the market way longer than I have. So like I'll run ideas by him and stuff and like get feedback. But a lot of times like I'll just run with an idea, like get a prototype up in like staging and be like, hey, like this is what I was thinking. Like, what's your feedback? And he'll have nits and like different ideas about stuff. But it's very rarely that he'll just like completely like we'll just like completely whiff on an idea. And then like the other superpower that I'll say too is like you mentioned like you need to know your market, right? And I was like, yes. You can wear a lot of hats, but you cannot wear every hat. Like that's just there's always somebody who has like a deeper experience in the market than you do majority of the time. And like for me, that is like literally everybody else on the team. So and like the CSE team specifically. So like back to the CSE team being like a superpower, like it's a superpower for our customers. It's also a superpower for like our engineers to be like, hey, this is the feature that I was talking about. Like, do you think customers would like have a good experience with this? Like based on like your interactions with help issues like what is your gut instinct? And they've got a really good gut instinct for like our customer and like our ideal customer profile.
Yeah, if you know what your customer is looking like, then you can just literally, and if you're a customer yourself, like what you were saying, where they're literally building the product, then that's a cheat code right there to just make it as good as possible or
100%.
as amazing of a product as possible. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely see that.
Yeah, I consider my role like it's less about me being the chief and more about me being like a point guard. You know, like I am connecting all the right things. Like I don't do all of the work. Like a lot of times things have to happen at the database level. So I'm just like talking with the people on the database team, or I'm checking in with the CSE to make sure the experience is right. I'm talking to like the warehouse team. Like I'm just passing the ball around, keeping everybody moving towards like the final product goal for whatever the feature or the thing is. And like sometimes even on like we've got 3 other front end developers. So like I'm not even the one necessarily doing the front end development all the time. So it's just like I just think of my role as like the connective tissue between like an idea.
You're the coach.
Shipping it to production. Yeah, coach. There we go.
You're the coach. You're the coach. We'll pivot right around. You're the coach.
You're the coach. So you have a good high level understanding of where the industry is moving, I'm imagine, in databases and where the market is moving. Would that be accurate to say?
I've got opinions, you know, like
Okay.
I've got opinions. I've got like, but it's just like, nope. Does anybody really? Unless they're like, there are people who just like really have a knack for stuff, and I've got like a good knack for like once I'm inside of a product, I can understand the system and the market that it's in and how like where our product fits into it, and like how people will want to use it. But I will not like claim any extra valor over like understanding large market trends. So.
Sure. That's fair. Then the question I would have for you is, if you were to realize, fast forward 3 years from now, if you were to realize
Okay.
everything you're working on the product right now, what is the perfect developer experience look like from your wish list standpoint on the database? Um,
That's a good question. That's a good question.
We're
Honestly,
good at
like
that.
the best thing that I could think about for a database is just what we already try to do, which is just like make the database even less your problem. You know, like I want to think about, for me personally, and I think for a lot of our customers, like a lot of our customers are building big businesses, and like the last thing that they want to think about is whether their database is working or not, our database is optimized or not. So there are some like ideas that we have, like there are things around like analytics stuff in the future that we would love to be doing, like building in more like business like BI type tooling and stuff. But I think for like databasing itself, that just niche, I think being able to like surface insights to people without them having to go look for them, like us being able to like leverage the team's expertise as well as like whatever AI. I think there's like a place for AI to be able to like analyze usage of a database and analyze metrics of a database and be able to start charting like insights to customers to say like, hey, we have this has triggered like XYZ. And we think that doing XYZ will like improve your database performance. Just click this button and we will do it for you. Or like
Right. It
we
shouldn't be
know
a
we know
primary
that
thought
you
to
have a
think
Rails
about
app.
it.
Here are like the exact steps that you need to like run X migration inside of like your ORM and Rails to like get this optimization into your applications.
Yeah, I agree, because more and more it's more the focus on the idea rather than the implementation of that idea. It's when I sit down and I'm working on my app, I don't want to think about, well, should I use sharding or just
Yeah.
clustered?
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
think and dive deep into the docs of Postgres. No, you just want to get a database that works, that will scale, that will
Mhm.
be correctly be able to pull and everything like that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Now you mentioned AI in this sort of thing. Do you how do you use AI in your sort of your application of this nowadays?
So we don't use AI too much now because like it's very like we manage like we handle people's data for their entire
Right.
company. So like there is no connection that is ever gonna happen between people's like production data and some like undeterministic LLM. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Right.
So like there is like that realization that like we're not going to be making that connection. So like are there other places where like AI can give superpowers to us? Like the like I do a lot with I the past month I've tried to any like small paper cut feature, like when our CSE team's like, hey, like a customer ran into this like weird edge case, and we've got like a whole list of paper cuts because like that's like instead of constantly trying to push new, we also try to like keep things tight. It's all about trust. Like we are managed. You are using us because you trust us. So like our product needs to feel like a great experience. So like the last month, I have like tried to use like cursor agent mode type stuff to basically say like, all right, this is the paper, like this is what I got. Here's the issue. Because I know the entire code base, it's a lot easier to explain a full context to the issue and be like, all
Right.
right, how much can this like one shot? And like how many of these paper cuts can I like bust out as quickly as possible to where like paper cuts don't become something that goes in a backlog. Paper cuts become like an immediate fix every time. So like we do that kind of stuff. I think there is some like AI use cases that we have around those like insight stuff where it's like, okay, it is not attaching to your database, but we are pulling data off of like database usage and like resource usage and like analyzing those using an LLM.
Right.
None of that is
So no
shipped.
vibe coding happens.
No. We've got a little too mature of a product at this point to be vibing. But we are
Boo,
definitely enhanced.
corporate.
We are enhanced for sure.
Right. And I think that's how to accurately do it, because all these companies that are jumping headfirst into AI, not deeply integrating it, not integrating it right, that's where their product fails. That's where you get a Chevrolet dealership that has an AI agent that sells a car for $1 just because they didn't implement it properly. So
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. No, and I think there's a place for like products that are mostly AI for like, because there are a lot of like industries and niches and like problems that just didn't have solutions with the right economics to be worth somebody building something for. Like, and now with AI, suddenly like the economics have completely changed. Like you can get a tireless worker to solve certain types of problems for like pennies on the dollar compared to like having to staff people to solve a problem that just didn't make sense before. So like there are definitely cases where like AI can completely be like most of the solution. But your managed database is not one of them.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. You mentioned that you got to experiment a little bit with cursor agent mode for your
Yeah,
workload,
yeah,
for your
yeah.
tasks, and I'd be curious to hear more about your experience there. What kind of models you got to use, and what worked and what didn't work.
So I think the best experience that I will relate at this point was for React Miami. A week before React Miami, I had this idea, courtesy of I think you were the one who had the. Did you have the NFC stickers, or was that?
That was
that was
Ryan.
me.
That was
Right.
That
Ryan.
was me.
Yeah, yeah, the NFC stickers. So I saw that. I saw you post that. Yep, 100%. Saw you post that, and I like something just clicked in my head that was just like, it'd be super cool is if like instead of it being like a social media profile, it's like you scanned something and you like got added to like a game that only people at the conference could play. And like,
Oh, that was you?
That
yeah,
was you?
that was me.
Oh, wow.
That's
So
so cool. No, because somebody walked up to me. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, can you scan the?" I think it was a 3D. Was it a 3D printed object?
yeah.
He
Well,
was
I
like,
wanted to do it 3D printed, but I just bought like blank dye off of Amazon because
"Okay,
I didn't
okay,
have enough time. Like I said, it was a week before, so I was like, all right,
right." No,
rush
I get
this.
that.
Like,
So
yeah,
they scanned. They were like, "Hey, complete." If you're watching this, I'm sorry, but I like completely didn't know, and I was so tired from doing these 90-second next devs.
no,
He
you're
was
good.
like, "Hey, can you scan this?" And I was like, I have a background in cybersecurity, so I'm like,
Yeah.
"Mm,
So the
okay."
idea behind it was that like you would scan it, and if you're the first person to have found that character token, you got added to the game. There were only 8 of them, so only 8 people could find them and be part of the game. And then after that, you would go around, and it would be like a way to like icebreaker yourself into conversations at an in-person
Right.
conference. Like I remember going to my first conferences just out of college and it being so awkward. Like who do I talk to? How do I approach people? I've not done anything noteworthy. Like, what do I go and talk to them and say like, "Hey, you're great." Like that. Is that it? So it's like I wanted some kind of like icebreaker mixture of like a game and like a way to like actually meet and talk to people. So like the idea is you go around and you like introduce yourself and be like, "Hey, like I got part of this game. Like I get points for having people scan this." And the more people that you meet and scan this like character token, the more points you get, and then you can attack the other players who are also playing the game and like take their points from them by attacking them. And like there was all sorts of like fun stuff involved. So like that application was built with Laravel, and I had a week to do it, and I'd never built like a Laravel app before. So I leaned heavily on cursor and like agent mode to be like, because I knew exactly what I want to do. Like I'm very familiar with like architecting these type of things. I just didn't have a lot of time, and it was like a completely new like language that I wanted to use for it. And so I was just like, let's see how far we can get. And
The
like,
primary thing is that you knew what, and that's where I find AI really helpful, is because I know the architecture. I
yeah,
know when you say
yeah,
I need to build a social media clone, okay, so we're going to need auth, but then we're going to need users, and those users are going to have this, that, the other. And give me any language, I could probably figure it out with cursor because I
yeah,
know
yeah.
what the architecture is. I just don't know the syntax.
Yep,
And
exactly.
I
And it's
think
even go ahead.
I think knowing the architecture is more powerful nowadays than knowing the syntax,
Yep.
because okay, let's say you know TypeScript and you know Next.js 100% really, really well. That's great. What if Next.js doesn't exist anymore or something like that? And it's like, oh, now I got to relearn everything in Laravel. You're going to be messed up. But if you know the architecture, then you just need to use AI to just kind of navigate that and everything like that. And it will make it so much easier. So
I
completely
use
agree.
it to describe as like AI is a like instant domain expert. Like
Yes.
you may not know, like you've got a lot of knowledge about what you want to do, and like based on your experience, you just may not know the domain language for whatever that new project is or whatever that new language is. So you can use AI to translate. And then being someone who's like experienced at this point in my career, like it becomes a lot easier to be like, oh, so like that's how it works here. Like I can really quickly connect the dots between those two things, and like now I understand it. But like it would have taken me so much longer to try and like figure out what that connection was from like by searching docs and stuff. So like that basically made that whole ambitious project possible in like a week's timeline, and I don't think I would have been able to do it otherwise.
That's awesome.
That's really
and I
impressive.
have to say, yeah, your project actually did strike up conversations, right? I remember I got to talk about Dungeons and Dragons to like 6 people who were like all really interested in what was going on with this thing. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, like it worked.
It was a good time.
Yeah, and you got that built in like a week, you said?
Yeah, it was a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. This is what's the greatest thing, in my opinion, in advancements in language models is the human accelerator aspect of it. You get to build things that you previously would not have been able to do.
Right.
Like, you have an idea, you make it happen. That's it.
I think what people people talk a lot about being scared of, which is like, oh no, like we're gonna lose all of our jobs because all these people are gonna start building all of these things. I'm like, like a little bit. Like really, what this does is it just like the people who are going to try and build something anyway, like the people who weren't gonna try are still not gonna try. You know,
exactly.
like,
yeah.
If you don't have the motivation to try and be someone who builds things and creates things, like those people are still not going to build something just because it's a little easier. But the people who like gave it a try but just couldn't figure it out, but they have ideas and they have things they want to build, like those people now have like a path to creating stuff and a path to like iterate and learn new skills in like a way that is like you mentioned, like a superpower for people.
Right. I think if anything, it just, and I need to say this in the nicest way possible, it filtered out the people who were just all talk. Like,
yeah. It's like
if I knew how to code, if I knew how to code, then I'd make this $1 billion business. Okay, now you can
do it.
Here's cursor. Boom.
You can
do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they don't. So yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, that was it. I just do it. Go ahead. Like you said, you can do it. Do it.
Yeah, go do it.
Show me.
Speaking of side projects, I checked out your blog, Will, and I noticed like one of the last articles was about making a game in Gleam. And I was really, really curious what was the motivation behind the project, if it's still alive, and whether or not you would consider to restart it.
It is very much still alive.
So, it is? Okay.
Yes. So I'm actually that's what I'm giving a conference talk on Monday. So I'm going to be at Lambda Conf up in Colorado and giving a talk on that on Monday. And like the whole thing is that like I owe my entire career to ambitious projects. Like literally, I could tell you right now every single job that I had and like the reason why I got that project, and it had nothing to do with like a resume going into it. Like nothing was traditional. It was all because of like taking on like ambitious projects that like I had no reason to believe that I could do them going into them, but like just tackling it anyway. And like that has just accelerated with like tooling, as tooling has got better and languages and like AI and things like that have gotten better. The Gleam game engine is like, growing up, my favorite game of all time was Final Fantasy Tactics, which is like, it's like chess, but it's with like fantasy characters, and like you level up, you get more attacks and different types of like jobs and skills. It's like, I loved it. And I was like, oh man, like I've always wanted, what if I just like tried to build one of those? Like this, I've kind of gotten to this, I got to this point where it's like, I think anything that I wanted to build, I could build. And then I thought of like this game and I was like, oh, there's no way I could do that. And like the second I said there's no way I could do that, I was like, well, now I have to try to do that, you know?
Right.
So it's like last year I started building it. Um and it has been a blast. I got a bunch of articles. They're called like game logs, game dev logs. If you go to wking.dev, you'll see them. But it just kind of it breaks down like every system as I've built through them, like game loops. Um, these games, it's like 3D chess on like an isometric board. So it's like you get to do like isometric projection from like 2D graphics to isometric graphics. You have to like think about like camera and viewport type stuff. Like your map is going to be bigger than the screen. So it's like you've got to be able to like move a map around inside of like a constrained viewport. All these like interesting, fun technical problems, but then also like a ton of fun design problems. Like you design characters and like attack animations and all this type of like design related things. And then throw on top of that, like if it's a game, you've got to have like storytelling that pulls together the design and the engineering together to like something that people like might actually be entertained by. Like you can't
'Cause
just
that's what
have a
keeps
cool
people
engineering and
engaged.
design project.
Yeah.
Make it something interesting, have story. And like AI has been like a superpower with this kind of stuff, especially with like the storytelling type thing, you know, like I can come up with like some pretty good ideas. I've played a bunch of video games. I've read a bunch of like fantasy books, that kind of stuff. So I've got like plenty of ideas, but like it just helps with like blind spots too. It's like, hey,
Right.
like here's my plan for this like whole level. Like what's missing? How could it be better? And it just shoots off a ton of ideas. And like 90% of them are like trash ideas, but like every now and then there's like a really good, we're like, oh man, like how did I not think about that? And like now you
Right.
can integrate, like you have this endless brainstorming partner to like help you like think outside of like your normal pathways of like what you might think of for like even these like very nebulous storytelling type concepts. Like it's your job to take
Yeah.
that and refine it into something good. But like it's very good for like giving you a lot of raw material to work with.
Yeah, and I think game dev in particular is like a really, really underexplored sort of area where
Yeah.
language models could
Especially if
really
you're not
step
trying to
in.
build a game engine from scratch. Like, especially if you're using like an existing game engine,
Dang it.
like if you're building with like existing game engines like Unity or like whatever the other ones are, like even better. Like they do 90% of the work for you. So like now you're just doing like the connective work and
Right.
they've been around forever. So like AI has like so much information on like how to build just about any type of game. And like your job then becomes like, how is mine interesting? How is mine different? Like what's the mechanic of my game? And you're not bogged down in like, oh man, like how do I even make this work? Like, no, you get to
Right.
think about like the things that actually make games popular, which is like what makes them fun, you know?
What do you think about because this is sort of using AI to develop the game. What do you think about AI actually in the game? Because nowadays with AI,
Mhm.
instead of creating like, okay, I'm creating this Will character, these are his dialogue lines, this is what's
Right,
pre-recorded.
right.
I can now just create, this is Will. He feels sad sometimes. He
Right,
feels
right.
happy other times.
Mhm.
And it's like, and then it just go. You can interact with it however you'd like, and it just will endlessly generate content and stuff like, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't really have to make it perfect. You can just describe to it what you want the agent or whatever to be, and then you
Sure.
can have endless characters
Yeah.
of. What do
I
you think
think
about that?
I think this real okay, so I think this relates to something that I feel fairly strongly about just being like a designer, which is the power of AI is that you can endlessly generate anything. But how in control of the experience do you want to be? There could be a lot of like academically interesting games because like and maybe it's interesting in some sense. Like there's a lot of weird video games even before AI that are just like, how did they even come up with this? This gameplay's so weird, like what you're doing. And so like that could fall under that, where it's like, oh, it's interesting because who knows what happens. Even the makers have no idea what the mechanics are. But like to make something like actually entertaining, something that people actually want to play and get like you get that kind of like dopamine hit when you're playing it of like, oh man, this is so fun, this is so good. And like same thing with like, it's going to be the same thing with like design. Like, yes, we're going to get to the point where you could generate just about anything. So what it comes down to is like the ability for people to have like taste, to have
Right.
like to be able to like craft something that like people look at and think, wow, that's good, and to understand like how people will react with that. And like maybe AI gets that good at some point. I don't think it's there yet. So it's like, yes, leverage that, use that. Maybe it's not like publicly available, like you're saying. Like maybe it's not in that way. Like maybe you use it to like create a whole lot more story than you would have been able to before. Like maybe you're
Right.
not responsible for writing every word of the dialogue. You can help it generate a lot of the dialogue. But like how in control of like the craft and the soul of your game do you want to be?
Yeah,
I think
all
it's a
in
very
moderation,
important
the
too.
design that you want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, it's a very important observation. Like, these are non-deterministic systems, right? And this is like, there are some dangers to letting a non-deterministic system dictate behaviors in software. And what if your character goes rogue and starts, I don't know, being bad,
Of
very
all
bad.
the places to like let non-deterministic behavior happen, a game could be the most entertaining place to do it. So like maybe it's a
Probably,
fantastic idea. Maybe, like
maybe.
somebody's gonna go out there and they're gonna try it, and then the public will decide if it was good or not. But like there are definitely places where it's like less safe to do that.
The public will decide your fate.
Exactly.
I'm actually working on a side project where I'm experimenting how much I can put on AI for creating a game. I got to use a Tencent Hanyan 3D model for generating models from 2D images. Thanks, Ryan, for recommending that one to me. I got to use like one of those services for generating audio, right, and sounds, etc. I generate code for game objects in Unity game, and I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I mean, how much I can do without
Yeah.
having any expertise at any of this is incredible, I think.
I saw somebody mention this, which was like they were talking about their kids getting really into a new craft, and like they wanted to make a game, and before it's like, how, like, okay, do I need to buy like an OP1 so like my kid can start making like tracks and beats for the game? Like, do I need to like do they need to learn how to use Blender and like 3D modeling to do the game? Like there were so many barriers to entry for like any kid to like learn something new or to get into some, and like so it meant like only the people with like no social life, crazy dedication, like got into certain things. But now, do we need to drop? Now, now it's like what you said. Like there are models that can like, yeah, like is it like AAA game production level? Like no, but guess
the kid doesn't care.
Yeah, but like guess what kid is now super into it and is just going to like get more and more into it, and like it's kind of like with development. Like thank goodness for AI, because like more people are actually going to go out and learn code because they got 90% of the way there or 75% of the way there, and like the gap between what they thought they were trying to build and what they wanted to build is like so small now it feels manageable to like go out and like learn that. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely helps people to sort of because I met somebody at React Miami who didn't do any sort of software development and stuff like that, but AI was the gateway into that, and it helped them pivot into software.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
It helps so many. Exactly. Yeah. So with more people coming into this sort of pivoting and this sort of engineering with AI and all that other stuff, what is one practice that you would advise and wish that every junior engineer could adopt on like day one of their thing? Like what's one thing that you wish they could do perfectly?
Okay, I'm going to give one for design and one for engineering because that's what...
Perfect. We got the double or nothing.
Engineering, read the code the AI generates. Like vibe coding's great. Vibe coding is fantastic, and like definitely do that. But like if you're wanting to become an engineer, like if you're wanting to do it more than just for fun projects and actually have this as a career, read the code it generates and then ask AI to explain it. Easy enough. Like done.
You've waste tokens on learning? Oh.
That's the best. That is the best thing you could possibly do. You know, like the best experience is like being in office with like a senior engineer who has all the patience in the world to like walk you through it based on their like industry experience. 99.99% of people will never have that opportunity. AI is a very good second option for like replicating that.
Right.
All right.
All you got to do is just live through the absolutely, of course. My pleasure.
Exactly.
Anyways,
It's going to be
continue.
fraught with plenty of speed bumps along the way, but that's the way to do it. And then
Right.
the other thing that I will say is for one sec. I just realized my charger's not plugged in.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Can't be
Oh, no.
dying in the middle of this. There we go.
10, 9.
All right, we're back. All right. For design, consume other types of media than the medium that you work in. So if you want to be a designer for like the web, don't just look at what other web developers are doing in designing, because then you will never be better than that work. You will at the best you will be is like second best to them.
Right.
You have to craft your own taste by observing other types of design and other experiences to like find. And then I think this part's like the key is like when you see something and your reaction is, oh, that's good. Stop and like ask yourself, wait, why did I think that was good? Because that question is like what tells you your taste. Like that is how you know, like, oh, I liked it because I like the colors. Okay, like what about the colors did you like? Oh, I liked it because like the spacing between these things like felt so much different than what I've seen on other things, and it like made me able to read this part of the text better, or like it drew my eye to here immediately. Oh, I like that animation because like all those things. Like when you see something and your brain immediately goes, "Ooh, I like that." Ask why and explain to yourself why, because like that practice is what builds like taste, what
Right.
people taste, like your
It gives
ability
you
to
an
look at
opinion.
something and be able to say like, oh, that's good or bad.
Yeah. It
Interesting.
helps you build that opinion, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that I work with, and they're just yes people. Oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. It's funny when I launch a new product, like I launched Agenda earlier this morning. I texted a bunch of people. I said, "What do you hate about it? What do you
Mhm.
not like? What do you absolutely hate?" Because when you pitch it like that, then you get their opinions, and then you got to have opinions on stuff like, okay, I hate this, I love this. Because if you're always, yeah, that looks good, yeah, that looks good, then you're just gonna not.
Yep.
What's special about you if you're just
Yep.
saying yes to everything? I could just ask ChatGPT to be like, can you
You
approve this?
hey, yeah, that looks good. Oh, why does it look good? Because I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know,
Literally, yeah.
That's fair.
That's basically what it is.
That's majority of the time. And like, so if you want to be a good designer, you have to care about it a lot, and you have to ask yourself why you like things and why you dislike things, because that is like the muscle. That is the exercise that builds your like design muscle.
Wouldn't you say that it applies to everything? Caring about things leads to better outcomes.
Sure. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, yes. Caring generally makes life a little better if you care about things. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So Ryan asked about what would be your recommendation for people who are getting started in software. Let's say somebody's considering pivoting into software. What do you think should be the first step? What would you recommend to those people?
I'd say build something.
Okay.
I mean that's the easiest thing. Is like try to build something, try to build a product. Like what type of software do you want to get into? What type of products do you want to be building? Then like go out and try to build that thing, and then like try to build like something simple with that, and then like try to talk to like you will be surprised how many people. I mean, Ryan, you know this. Like you're in college, and like you mentioned in some tweet today that you've like worked with like 5 CEOs or something, which is just like you want to know why? Because like unlike other college students, you're just going out there and like trying to talk to them. Like you are out there like actually just asking. So like if you are interested in tech or some specific type of tech, like build something and just be like, hey, like I built this and I'm unsure about XYZ. What do you think? Or like how could I get better at this? And like just shoot your shot. Like get out there, build stuff, and like ask people who do that type of stuff what they think about it, and like you will be surprised how far just that can take you.
And if
This
they
is-
don't see you, and if they don't acknowledge you, and like you send it to them, and I'm not going to name any names, but like let's say there was one CEO that I tried to reach out to and show my stuff off to, and they never responded. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to push even harder to build something even better,
Yeah.
so that way then they will respond, and then they will follow me, and then they will always be engaging with my content now. So you've got to make it a goal not to get them to respond or something like that, but to impress them and impress others. And you will
buddy of
see how
mine,
far you go. Yeah.
buddy of mine, Aaron Francis, whom y'all got to meet at React Miami, said that if you want people to take note of you, then do something noteworthy.
Dang, that's good.
I think
He's always good with those quotes.
Yeah, he's incredible. Like, I don't know how he comes up with this stuff, but like he just always has a good line for it. And that one stuck with me, where it's like, look, if you are not getting noticed in the way that you want to, then you need to be doing something that is more noteworthy for whoever the person is that you're trying to be noticed by.
And then I'll put out tweets like I just sent in chat where
What become? This is disgusting. Can you? I don't know why you're sharing this now.
We can't at the bat. What is it?
Right.
Bat 1,000. There we go. There's a
That's
sports
right.
metaphor.
That's
there's a balance.
Bingo.
I think this is the golden piece of advice. Like, get out there, talk to people. This is beautiful. Become impossible to ignore without being obnoxious.
Yeah, I put a tweet out last week that got, it's like the most that a tweet of mine has got noticed in a while, other than the kangaroo video of the one that escaped in Alabama recently. But I said 2 years ago, I like made a goal of myself to like I want to build dope things with dope people. And like as part of that goal, it meant I had to build dope things myself and then also try to go talk to said dope people. And it has been like the past 2 years of my career have been the best 2 years by far. Like I was not doing stuff like this. I was not going to conferences. I was not coaching basketball games between like nerds at like a Laracon conference. Like those type of things only happen if you are willing to, like, as I think as Prime and Tej always talk about, embrace the cringe, like embrace potentially embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
Because on the other side of that is like fun and actually having an enjoyable time.
If you aim for it too, if you aim to be cringe, then what's bad about that? Okay, you're cringe. Yeah, you were aiming for that. Good job. It's like,
There we go.
like did you see me on stage at React Miami by chance? Were you there for that?
I think I had already left to go see my wife at that point. Well, it was at the very end, right? With like all the awards. Yeah.
I already talked to Michelle. Next year we're gonna have the award ceremony on like the second day or something like that. Anyways, no, because I went up there and I love public speaking, so I wasn't even nervous about that. But I was like, I'm gonna aim to be cringe. I'm gonna be weird. I'm gonna be funny, and everyone loved it.
Yeah.
And if nobody had loved it, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, I expected that because I aim to be cringe.
Right.
So
right.
if you aim for, what's the one thing? It's like if you
shoot for the
you
moon,
shoot-
at least you'll
yeah,
land among the
land
stars.
am-
quote.
yeah, that boom, you read my mind. I was like, that's what
Yeah.
I do all the time, because
Yeah.
that, and then you got to ship. You got to
Yeah.
ship. You just get something out there.
My
It's not gonna be perfect.
my quote is you don't have to succeed to be successful. What you set out to do may not turn out the way you thought it would, but you will be
Right.
surprised at all of the successful things that happen along the path to trying to succeed.
Aim to
Wow.
fail.
Wow. That's a lot of very, very useful pieces of advice we got today in our episode. I think it's really, really good. So we're going to try to wrap things up. We're at the end of the hour.
Yeah, I got to go
Pitch
do
time.
bedtimes.
Yeah. Where can folks follow your work?
You can, I put stuff out on wking.dev, but the place that I'm spending way more time if you want to like hang out and chat is on Twitter, X, the everything app, whatever you call it, at wking__. So
So check it out.
Awesome.
go check it out. Say hey, send me a DM. I love chatting and hanging out with people. So like do not be afraid to ask any kind of questions.
Awesome. Go talk to people. All right. And final question, I promise. We always close things out with this one. What's one piece of advice you would share with Will from 10 years ago?
I want to see if you get this right, because if you've watched other NextDevs, there's a correct answer. But then there's the real answer, but there's a correct answer.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if I could tell myself anything that I would change, because like, talk about a blessed life so far. I've got a wife with 3 incredible kids, and I'm literally talking to like internet friends that I met at a conference in Miami. So like, what more could I want out of life? I don't know. I'd probably like tell myself something and then mess it all up. My wife would guarantee that, if anything, it would be like, ask Allie on a date sooner, might be the only thing that I'd say. But that's about it.
Beautiful.
So that's wrong. It's the answer. Correct answer is actually buy NVIDIA stock. So
there we go.
If you are watching this video and you're invited on to a NextDev episode and you answer buy NVIDIA stock, I will send you a free t-shirt. That has been your warning. Nobody posts about this.
All right. So my dad had Apple stock back in the 80s. And to this day, every time I like talk to him, he always brings up, man, can you imagine if I never sold my Apple stock, how much money we'd have? And I'm like, I know, Dad. Quit telling me about it. That's my inheritance.
Yeah. No, my mom's parents, my grandparents, they had an original Apple II in like pristine condition, but they sold it like 7 years ago to like Goodwill. And I was like,
to Goodwill.
What?
That's like that's like y'all's opening like animation, right?
Yeah.
It's I was thinking what you were saying. Yeah. Actually, we're working on a new one because now we have enough content. Because I originally made that when we had no content and I just needed something. But now that we have content, I'm working on creating a really, really, really cool intro.
There we go. It's like that meme of the guy on like the History Channel with the crazy hair.
Well, you'll see it. You'll love it. I think everybody will. It's really great.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
I think it was a great episode.
Appreciate you having me on. I'm afraid I hate that we couldn't get to your storied past, Goose, as a belly dancer. I really hate we didn't.
What are you talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know.
Cut the stream. Cut the stream. Cut the stream. I don't know. We don't stand for this hypocrisy here.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
a lie.
Hey, you're never invited back. No, I'm kidding.
Oh man, do we get repeat episodes? I'll come back anytime, man.
We're thinking of implementing like how Shark Tank has like where are they now? Like a 6 month, because literally, for example, we did an interview with Nizzy from Zero Mail, who was previously at Cal. And I mean, he announced that he had YC, and I'm good friends with him. But so we want to do like a 6 months, and we might be having an exclusive episode from Zero to YC coming up in the next week or so to talk about how they got started. I literally just got the final text from them to be like, hey, would you want to do this? Right now.
Well, I can't promise any like revolutionary like changes in my life like YC, but like I love chatting.
When Terminal gets into YC, then you'll be good.
YC?
There we go. Yes, because I've got stock because I'm the coach. There we go.
All right.
Hold on. Awesome. Let me tweet Prime. Hey, Prime.
Why don't you release a game in the 6 month window, huh?
Oh, I actually am. I'm building another one. I'm speaking at Laracon in July, and my project, like what it's on like ambitious projects, and I'm going to build. If you look at like my pinned tweet, I've like got a work in progress of something, but basically it's going to it records audio, or you can upload audio, and it turns that audio track into a video game level. that you can play.
Ooh.
Wow.
So that will
sounds
be
cool.
the ambitious project done by July.
All right.
Nice.
Go check it out, and we'll be checking in on that.
Absolutely. Good chatting.
Awesome. Good chat. Thank you, Will, so
Alright.
much for joining us.
See ya.
See ya.